Windows 8.1, update 1. When it first opens, it opens on the desktop, and one of the first things we want to talk about is the taskbar down here. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to click on properties, and up comes as taskbar and navigation properties box. There's another way of getting this same dialog box, and that's by right clicking on the start button, going to control panel and clicking on taskbar and navigation. That's it's the same box. It's just another way of getting to the same place. As you well know, there are many ways of doing everything in Windows. Now over here, I have it set to auto hide the taskbar, and there's a reason I do that, and we'll talk about that later though. Right now we'll talk about the navigation tab, and it's when I point to the upper right corner, show the chimes bar. That's just this one over here, and I want the chimes bar, and both of these settings are Microsoft settings. And then down here at the bottom, when I sign in, go to the it says go to the desktop. That's what we want. This one here says show my desktop background on the start. In other words, this is the desktop, and if I click on the start button, it's the same picture in the background. So that's what we want. Down here it says when I sign in, go to the desktop. Yep. Down at the bottom, list the desktop apps first in the apps view when it's sorted by category. That's a very good idea. I like that, and I'll show you why it's a good idea a little bit later. Alright, and so here we are with the latest settings of 8.1, update 1. When we're on the desktop, if we put our pointer to the top left, we'll see a open, and then move it down. It will open up any of the apps that are open. In other words, there's 3 apps. There's the weather that's open, that's the PC settings, and the store. And we could get to we could right click on one and say close it if we wanted to. Oh, we could actually insert it to the right so that it takes up half the screen, and we could also set another one to be on the left hand side. But what we'll do is we'll minimize this. We'll go back here again to that screen, go down. So we can go to any one of these open apps very quickly. They're all open, and also nowadays with the latest update, they are on the taskbar running as open apps. The first one is the store that I told you about. If I right click on it, it says unpin. That's because it is pinned to the taskbar already. Now we go over here to this one on the end. This one here is the settings, and it says pin. In other words, although the program is open, just like it was a regular program, it's open and shows and running and shows on the taskbar, but it isn't pinned to the taskbar. But if I click on this pin, it would be, and it would stay there all the time if I wanted it there. So we can pin all apps to the taskbar, which is handy at times, very handy. And then the next thing we can do, so we got the left and we got the bottom. We go to the right hand side of the screen and we bring it down. We got the chimes bar. If we go down here with the chimes bar and come down to this icon, which is the same as the start button, and click on it, it goes back to the start screen. If we do it again and click it again, it'll go back to the desktop. So we can go from, and if we, on the keyboard, if we touch the Windows key, we go to the start screen, touch it again, and we go back to the desktop. There's a few ways that we can get there. And there's one more on the desktop. We've looked at the left-hand side. We have looked at the taskbar. We have looked at the right-hand side. And there's one more way of changing back to the start screen that is the most hidden feature in this update. When I move to the top, all the pointer goes to the top and it don't do anything. But if I press on the left mouse key and move down, we're back to the start screen. So that's kind of different. It's the last thing that I noticed that was a change. But I'm going to go back again. I'm going to close it again like this. Since this desktop icon is in the top left, that's the #1 position in the on the start screen, and if I hit enter, it goes back to the desktop anyway. Another thing over here, if I go down to the chimes and I go to PC settings and I go to personalize, because it's on the desktop now, when I click this personalize, it will go to personalize the desktop. I click on it, it brings us to where we can change the theme. We can change the screensaver if we had one. And that about covers it for the desktop. That's all we'll cover in this video. Windows 8.1, update 1. We're going to look at the desktop and the power users context menu. Down here is an icon. We're going to right click on it, and when it opens, there's 18 places that we can go to. There's a new one here on top, program and features. That's where you would go in the control panel to remove programs or see which programs you had. And the mobility center is where you'd make changes for mobility options. And here's the power options, which we also have in many other places also. Event viewer you won't use too much. System you will. Device manager, yes. These things here will probably be used the least often. The command prompt I use quite frequently. It is the task manager here. This is a quick way to get to the task manager. In fact, when the video I just made before, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. It's a control panel here, the file explorer, search and run. And it's a fast way to shut down when you're on the desktop. And this will take you to the desktop because we're already on the desktop. So that is a good way to do that. And then you just click on the desktop and that menu goes away. But you could have chosen any of those items, and each time they give an update, it seems they add another thing to that menu, and pretty soon they'll end up with a full start menu. If you want to delete programs, we use the as I said, we would go here and get rid of them here. All right, and managing tasks is where this task manager is here. And this brings up a new task manager that gives you, in many cases, more options and more information than most people even want to know. and it tells this would be the users and the things that are in the startup when you start the computer, and it details all the services that are running. And this is actually, if one gets to know this, it's it's quite good. But most of us, we rarely use it very much. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that. All right, and the next thing that we'll do on the desktop is to I notice when I right-clicked on that and said this one says File Explorer. That really wasn't quite necessary, because this icon right here, this is the File Explorer button, and if I held the pointer over it, it says File Explorer, and you click on this, and File Explorer in this case will open up in libraries. Well, it opened up in libraries because I had libraries opened on the navigation pane. But if I right-click here in the navigation pane and uncheck this Show Libraries, then the next time I open up File Explorer, I've already unchecked the libraries. So next time I click it this time, it comes up to this PC. So if you use libraries, many people don't like to use libraries, but if you use libraries, when you click on that button, it will open two libraries. And if you don't use libraries, and they're not listed here, then it will open in this PC. And that's all we're going to cover in this video. Windows 8.1 Update 1. We're going to talk about search, title bar, and the auto hide taskbar. When the computer opens, it's automatically on the desktop. If we wanted to search for something here, we would have to right-click on this, click on search, brings up that search box. That's two clicks, a right-click and a left-click. If we went into the start screen, we would click on the start button, the search button, and type it in. That's two clicks from the desktop. Also, if we go to click on this button and get to the apps screen, the search box is there. So no matter what screen you're on, you can search in the search box, and this is an excellent search box. But for the most time when we're searching something, in the start screen, well, I guess I'll have, most of the time when we're in the search box on the start screen, it's set for everywhere, which is about the way most of the time that's where you want it. But if you're looking for files, you might be better off to click on files. And if you were clicking on some computer settings, you might be better off clicking on settings. But for the most part, you will leave it on everywhere all the time. It's by default, it's on everywhere all the time. Okay, and then you just click out of it and it goes. Now that we've found the search, a couple of things that have been added to all of the desktop, all of the store apps. let's say I click on the weather app. Up in the top, the very top of it, there is a title bar that didn't exist before. And on the title bar, we can right click on it and we can split it right, or we could minimize it. We also have a minimize button over here and a close button. So if let's split it right, that's what that does. And if I do that again and say minimize, it will minimize it down here to the taskbar, which is new. This never happened before, and this is a good thing. Notice that that is highlighted so that although it's running, it is not visible. And but we can tell it's running because it's highlighted, and when we hover over it, up comes this box. And to start it and to bring it up again, we just click on it and we brought it up. As you notice, the store app is by default is on the taskbar, and if I click on it, it opens up the store app, and on the store app, it too has a title bar. All of them do. All store apps, the store and the store apps have a title bar. And you have the same choices over here that we had before, and we have the minimize button and the close button. If I close it and I go down here to the taskbar, you can see that the store app has been turned off. We start it again by clicking on it, and if I click on the minimize button, it brings it down and it's on the taskbar. It's running, but it is not displayed. So we have two that are displayed right now. All right, and so let's go to the screen over here and pull it down, and you can see that we have the desktop and the store. And on the desktop right now, the weather app is showing. We go over here until we get to this little box and pull down. We have the desktop will always be there, in the store app. If I want to go back to the store, I click on this one. If I want to go back to the desktop, I click on this one. So you can maneuver real easily. And of course, if you didn't want to use that, you wanted to use the Windows key plus the tab, or the Alt key plus the tab, that shows up all of the items that are running. The stat screen customize. What we'll do is take a look at the stat screen by clicking on the stats screen button down here in the lower left corner, or hitting the Windows key on the desktop. And we get this here, and we see at the top of some of the groups. Well, we can take these items and move them around. We can reposition them to any place that we like. Normally on the left side of the screen, you put the icons, the tiles, in the position furthest to the left, the ones you use the most. And I wrote up the top, most often used. And also down in the bottom part of the screen here, there's a minimize button. When you do that, it zooms out. And of course, if you was on a touch screen, you would use the 2-finger pinch and just pinch it and make the whole screen smaller. And when it's in that position here, you can see that there's different groups. There's a group here, and here's a group, here's a group. And what we can do is grab a hold of any one of them groups and move to any position we want. And we'll just let go of it. And that group isn't actually named yet, but we can rename it if. So in other words, you put them wherever you want in any group that you want that makes sense to you. And when you get them in the right location, the groups in the right location, you just click on the screen and they come back. And if you click on say I wanted to name this one here, and I'd say, fun stuff, I just click on name the group, click on fun, write in fun stuff, and then all of the groups would be named. And the next thing that we do is to right click on an item, and by right clicking we get the context menu, and we can do all of these things: unpin from the start, pin it to the taskbar, uninstall, resize. You can see we can make them large, wide, medium, small, make them any size you want. If the smaller they are, the more you can get on the screen. Then we have a thing that says turn live tiles on. The live tiles, we'll turn that on for this one. And what happens is, in a few minutes, this particular one will be, you'll see it change and reflecting different places where you can buy food or drink. Now, some things like this here, I have turned off some of the live tiles. I don't know how many resources it uses to do all of them in live tiles, but some of them it's easier for me to recognize if they're not always changing. So we can, these things over here, so I guess we've resized them all that we need. Okay, well, but each one of these has different things that you can do with it. Not all of them can be resized the same way. So some of them are just small and mediums, and some would have 4 choices. And then there'd be run as administrator and unpin. These are quite an improvement. It used to be when you right clicked on an item, it would bring up a box from the bottom and you make choices down here, but now it's more familiar. It kind of makes it like it used to be in Windows 7 when you right clicked on an item. So I guess rearrange the start menu to your liking, and that's all that counts. Windows 8.1.1, music and photos open with. I set my computer back to the way it was before this latest update just to demonstrate what it was and then what Microsoft did to change it. So what we'll do here is open up File Explorer, and we'll find some music files, and this time we'll look for some MP3 music files, and I just have a couple. And that's the way it was before this latest update. The icon here shows the Store Music app, and if you clicked on any one of them, it would open up in that music app. Some people liked it, some people didn't, and apparently they didn't know how to change it. But anyway, Microsoft, in their recent update, update 1, which you should all have, I'm going to change it so that it's the same as all the computers now. I highlight one, I go up here to open, and I click on change default, and I go down here and say Windows Media Player. And so it opens in Windows Media Player, and that's what I want. Now, I also could have clicked on any of the music for any of the MP3s and said open with, and they right down here, these are the same options that you get by going up here on the ribbon. The same thing. Many of us get into the habit of right-clicking, and that's a good idea, but you also have it on the ribbon. Okay, so now that changed it back to the way it is now on your computer, the way this latest update changed it. Now we'll go into photos because they changed that too. Now I've got in the pictures, and I'll pick some recent pictures in Microsoft, and I'll click on any one of them, and it opens up in this photos, which is a photo app. And you can tell it's a photo app because I can move it down and move it over to the side and so forth. And I can close it by just bringing it down to the bottom. But this is a good app, actually. And you can just cycle through all of the pictures that you got. And that's the same. It's a very good program. But anyway, they changed it to something else. Here's how we change it. Either right-click to get open with, or go up here to the ribbon when you're on the Home tab and click on Open. We'll get down here and choose the default, and I'm going to choose what I think Microsoft changed it. Windows Photo Viewer, which is the viewer that probably you're accustomed to in Windows 7. And then you can cycle through your videos like you always used to. All right, and that's so they have changed music and pictures to these defaults that I just showed you, and it's really easy. All they didn't add any programs, they didn't take any away. They just changed the defaults, and of course I had already changed mine anyway. But that's all I wanted to show you, and that's all we're going to do for this video. We're going to demonstrate the Internet Explorer Store App Reader. We'll go here to the stats screen and activate the app. And at this moment I have 2 pages open, the Crystal River one and this it's a CrossFit page, and this is the page. So we'll click on this this first page, and it shows description of CrossFit, and this button comes up and says switch to reading pane, and we click on that, and that will switch over to the reading pane, and that works out pretty good. All right, and then I'll go back to the first page, and I'll then click on another page, and when that comes up, I will go now and click on the reader for it, and in a few seconds, hopefully, it'll put the page in a format where we can read it. It puts all the pictures first, and then the reading part. So that's and sometimes that works out very useful. You don't have any control over when that reader shows up. When it's possible for it to show it in the reader view, it will. All right, and that's all we're going to do for this video.